Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Sporting Max. But today we're joined by the Illawarra Hawks co-owner and president, Dorry Kordahi. Welcome to the podcast, Dorry. How are you going at the moment?
Good, Max. How you going?
I'm well, thank you. Now I'd like to start off a bit about your childhood. So, what was that and those childhood years like for you?
For me, it was definitely an interesting one. Going to school and not really doing too well at school, failing my HSC, and having a love for basketball. So I've always been a very passionate basketball player myself. I wasn't really good at school, and I didn't really do too well from that perspective. And got into hairdressing thereafter with my dad, and I got into the field of marketing and so forth. So my journey at the start wasn't a glorious one, and there was no clear path with where I was going with my career. But I was fortunate enough to sort of find a passion in sports and marketing, and just sort of grew from there.
So, what did you do after you finished school?
I did hairdressing, which is probably not the direct path that I'm in now. So I worked with my dad for 4 years, got the trade underneath my belt. Didn't like it one bit, and then ended up playing basketball overseas in Lebanon for a little bit, and came back and played basketball on an ABA level in Australia as well, and started in the field of merchandise. And
can you elaborate on that sort of professional basketball stint, like you mentioned before?
Yeah, look, I've played basketball pretty much all my life since I was 8 in Australia, and played youth league, state league, and then I toured Lebanon with the Australian Lebanese basketball team. They put a team together to go tour over there, and I was fortunate enough that I went there a couple of times, and one of the teams saw me play and they called me up. They actually back then they sent me a fax to my cousin's office and asked.
So can you elaborate on that? Your whole sort of pro basketball stint for a bit there.
For myself, I was fortunate enough to play basketball since I was 8. So I grew up playing for the Parramatta Wildcats and Norths in Australia. And I played ABA locally and state league. And I went to Lebanon and toured with the Australian Lebanese basketball team a number of times. And I was fortunate enough that one of the teams saw me play over there in the professional league. And back then they sent faxes, not emails. And they sent me a fax to the office that I was working at. And they said, this is the president of this club. Can you please give me a call about your basketball? And I gave them a call, and they said to me, look, we want you to come out and trial out with the club. And
wow.
I spoke to them on Wednesday, and by Friday I was on a plane going to Lebanon and trying out with the club, and came back home and went back 6 weeks later to play over there, which was a great experience. It was a short-lived experience, but it was one that I sort of cut short, because I felt that, if I was going to play basketball my entire life, was I going to retire? Was I going to retire on the salary that I was going to earn, or do I start building a professional career in the world of business? And I would look back now on my career and say I probably made the best choice by leaving that position and starting my business at 25 in my field, and looking back where I am now and what I've achieved in business and sports, I think I've made the right choice.
Now, you founded your own sort of promotional merchandise company in DKM Blue in 2002.
Yep.
How did you find that experience of starting your own business and getting that to take off?
For me, I always love challenges, and I started that business from my parents' garage shed in my early 20s. So, for me, it's putting yourself in situations that you can try to succeed in. And I was fortunate enough that I spent a number of years working in my cousin's business in this field. So I got a couple of years experience within the field, and thought I'd give it a crack and start my own business and go from there. So I was fortunate that from the start, that when I started it, it was a success, and it was a lot of hard work with what I've done, and today we're probably one of the leading marketing and merchandise businesses in the country.
Now, you bought into the Sydney Kings in the NBL, sort of part ownership there in 2007. So where did your love for basketball start to expand to the point where you wanted to get involved into the sort of business side of basketball?
I've always been very passionate about the sport. The sport's given me so much as a player, and I look at my professional career in business. I take a lot of my successes from the sport in terms of giving me the fundamentals of teamwork, visualization, hard work, training. And these are all the things that I'm fortunate enough that succeeding in business gave me the opportunity to invest back into the sport. So when the Kings opportunity came up when I was 32, it was probably more of a passion than anything else to sort of part own a club back then. It probably wasn't the wisest decision, being a 32-year-old getting into a sport and not knowing too much about the business side of sports. But it gave me, I've got a lot of good friendships and relationships, and Brian Gorgian was probably one of the closest ones that I built during that time, who's now a coach of the Hawks. So, but yeah, I guess, having success in business gave me the opportunity to, live out a childhood dream of getting back into sport on an ownership level.
So how did that position at the Kings come about?
Look, basketball back then wasn't really at the forefront of where it was against other sports. If you go back 10 years prior to that, I think we all know that NBL in the early 90s was at the heyday and at the pinnacle of what the NBL stood for.
Yep.
But I think back then it was more about, if you've got the ability to lose money, I would say back then, put your hand up and you'll get a license. So it wasn't too hard to sort of get involved with it as long as you're willing to invest money into it. So look, yeah, Dorry Kordahi was there at the time, part of the Kings, and they knew that I was interested in getting involved, and they reached out to me and had a bit of a chat. I used to be a cowboy for the Kings when I was 12, so I was there at the first game at the State Sports Centre when they were putting up the jerseys up on the up in the change rooms for for people like Steve Carfino, Damien Keogh, Ian Davis, Mark Rebilliard, all those sort of guys, and wiping the floors during the games as well. So I've had a very long passion with the Kings back then and with the sport itself. So so it was definitely exciting.
Where and when did you start to get your passion and I guess edge for writing?
Look, yeah, I've written a couple of books. The last one is Win Big, Risk Small. For me, the passion is more about sharing a journey of success, and if I can do it, then you can do it. And for me, it's about trying to inspire people and entrepreneurs and people that have a passion that, if I can succeed in business and get to where I've gotten to without a degree or without no formal, without no university degree or failing a high school certificate. It's just trying to show people that, if I can do it, then you can do it. So it's always been a belief of mine that, if you can share your knowledge with other people and help people and inspire people to succeed, that's something good that I'm doing, and trying to inspire other people. So yeah, I think it's just more around the journey of what I've done inspired me to write.
Now in November 2011, you published your first book titled Power to Act. What was that experience like of writing your own book?
Look, yeah, it was definitely for me, writing that book was more about writing a biography / entrepreneurial book. So the whole book's literally around my whole journey in life, and from my early childhood to to being born all the way through to high school, to being hairdresser, to playing basketball, to artist management. Going through the whole process of my life, and at the end of every chapter, I'll talk about my theories and my beliefs in business. So it was more about trying to inspire people. So I really enjoyed sharing my story and journey, and and hoping to inspire other people in business.
A few years later, you published another book, your second book, Wealth Diaries, an Entrepreneur's World. How long did it take you to write that book, and how do you feel when, I guess, you read people's thoughts and reviews on your books and things like that?
Oh, look, it's always rewarding. It's great that getting people responding, saying that you've inspired me, and you've given me another more belief in what I've done and where I'm going. It's just probably more about self-satisfaction that you're making change for people, and that's no matter what you write, whether you get one person that reads your book, or if you can change one person's life, or if you can change 50 people's lives, it's always a positive outcome. And for me, it's about just trying to inspire everybody, and I've always been that sort of person that if I can share my journey and inspire people to sort of have a crack at their goals and their beliefs, that to me is very, very rewarding personally.
You took up a position in January 2018, in which you sort of held for a few years as the NBL advisory board member. Talk to me about your role here in those couple of years from your perspective.
Oh, look, it was great. Larry Kesselman reached out to me and said, he was putting an advisory board together for the NBL, and I had a meeting with him a few months before that happened, and because, mate, want you on board, love your passion for the sport and what you've done in business as well. So that was probably my first taste getting back into the NBL after the Kings, and I think that sort of gave me a bit of a spur to try to get back into it further. And look, I enjoyed it. I was around some very creative and very smart people on the advisory board, and we just all, we all sort of added our two bobs into the NBL and just sort of collaboratively, brainstormed as a group and gave the NBL some sort of, I guess, advice, open forum discussions to see which direction they're going. So, that's okay. No, look, it was a good time. And it sort of probably got my juices going again into sort of, looking back into the NBL and, with more broader eyes and being more open to, these sort of opportunities.
So when obviously had a meeting with Larry Kesselman, what were those kinds of conversations about? As in terms of like talking business and getting a deal done to get you on the board.
Look, it was more of an open discussion. It was more about just sort of getting to know each other. We both have a very, very similar journey. We both went to China at a very young age and started importing out of China. We're both very entrepreneurial in our own ways, and we both have a common interest. That's a passion for basketball. So, we're both very like-minded people, and the way Larry does his interviews and meetings, it's the same way that I do. We just have discussions, and if you can feel like you're on the same wavelengths and you sort of got the same goals and the same sort of personalities, it's always going to be a recipe for a good outcome. So there was no formal interview in terms of dropping in your resume and so forth. A lot of it was done based on our experience and knowing what I've done and what I've done in the field of sport and what I've done in business, and just sort of having an open, robust discussion. And that was something that we did. And within the hour, we kicked it off, and we knew, this is going to be a good partnership. And he welcomed me onto the board, which was great. And it was a great experience. And I actually enjoyed just being around, like-minded people with the same interests and same passion.
Now, you're currently a shareholder and director at Swanky Socks. What's that like for you?
Yeah, look, it's a fun business. It's a fashion retail sock business that I've invested into as a startup. It was a guy, Tom, that started this business, and I saw him pitch at an entrepreneur event, and I just love the idea, love what he did with it, and sort of took a 50% stake in the business, and we've grown the business dramatically over the last 3 years. So, we do retail socks, we do corporate socks, and we've grown the business by 1,000% within the first couple of years. So it's a fun business. So if you like your Swanky Socks, go out there on our swankysocks.com and buy your pair, because they're a good pair. They're a good pair of socks.
Let's talk about DKM Blue, your company. Did you have an aim for it when you first began and started out, and have you achieved that aim? I guess since starting and to the sort of present situation.
Look, I've always had big goals and dreams, and starting DKM from my parents' garage, I've always knew I was going to, hopefully do something big with it. Going to China for me was a very big part of growing this business. China was a very big part of the business, and getting there at a very early age where the borders in China were really closed to exporting. It was all done out of Hong Kong. So I really went into this business, with unblinkered thinking, and just sort of had a belief and an idea of how I was going to set this business up. I've got 4,000 competitors that do what I do, and I was fortunate enough that my beliefs and theories in my business, worked, and I focused on, customer service and delivering unique products at the start, and the business took off from the start. So always had the vision and belief that I could do it, and to see it come to fruition at a very early age in the business, was very satisfying and rewarding as well.
In July 2020, you became known as the new co-owner of the Illawarra Hawks. Throughout a tough time for the club, you and Brian Colangelo and Michael Proctor bought in and bought pretty much the whole club. How did that opportunity arise for you?
You know, last year is, and being close to the board, I sort of, when that opportunity came up, we had a chat with Larry and said, mate, what are you doing with the club here on in? And sort of, we put a bid in to take over the license, and fortunate enough we were successful with that. And yeah, we've started this business from scratch, and even though we had the brand, the Illawarra brand there for 40 plus years, you're building this business from scratch, because we literally went into that business with nothing other than four walls and nothing there. So we really built this business from scratch, and for us it was definitely a challenging time, and something that a lot of pressure on ourselves, trying to build this up within a very short period of time.
The team was renamed the Hawks, and obviously Illawarra was stripped from that name. What happened here, and what was your perspective on that?
Well, look, it was a league directive in relation to where they wanted to take this brand. They wanted it to be a regional team and to explore, the Canberra and the Newcastle region. So yeah, look, it was part of buying the club, and it was part of the agreement. And when we did take over this license, we realised the impact it had on the community, and how much the word, the name Illawarra meant to them. And I've always said at the start that the DNA of the Hawks is the Illawarra region, something that we, I believed in, and we went back to the NBL. We had a discussion, and we fought back into it. And I wouldn't say we fought, but we had a robust discussion around, we want to bring the name back, and we put some parameters around that, and we achieved our goals, and we brought back the name, which I think was warranted at the time, and we couldn't be more happy that we are now the Illawarra Hawks again, and the community are very happy with that, and it's exciting for us to sort of be able to continue this era of the Illawarra Hawks, and take them and building out new steps, and and trying to grow this brand and the reputation to be a leader in basketball.
As a co-owner and club president, what do you do on a weekly schedule at the club?
A lot of things. It's never ending. I thought this, and and it sort of feed itself. But look, every day it's ongoing. It's a lot of emails, a lot of collaborative with our staff in the office. Working with other owners in the league, and looking over how we improve commercial partners, trying to grow our brand from a social platform. Every day is different, but every day is very, very hands-on, and it's been like that from day one. And I don't think it's going to ease off anytime soon.
In NBL 21 this year, the team's been playing some great basketball so far under new coach, and obviously Brian Goorjian, the GOAT. What's it like to work with Gorge at the club?
Look, it's been great. One of the first things that I did say if I ever come back into the NBL, Brian will be my coach, and we made this pat 12 years ago when we were together at the NBL at the Kings. So to actually live this dream and have Brian come back and do this together again, it's definitely definitely an exciting experience for us. So having him lead our team does make our job a whole lot easier, because you've got the best coach there. We've got a very young side, and if we didn't have Brian there with this young team, we probably wouldn't be in this position right now. So having him lead this team, and we're sitting fourth at the moment. There's no other way we would have done it without having Brian there. So having him back, I'm 12 years older now, and he's older as well. So we're definitely in a different stage in our careers from maturity wise and knowledge wise. So to be collaborating with him again at the Hawks is definitely exciting for myself, and I would hope it's the same for Brian, which is probably why he came back into the league. Knowing that the NBL has improved as a whole, and also for us to be able to work together, it's been exciting.
Now, what was that like to stand by your close friend in Brian and see him get appointed as the Australian Boomers head coach?
Oh, look, it was definitely exciting. Sitting at that press conference with him, being announced as a Boomers coach was probably very surreal for me. Doing our first press conference together when he came into the Hawks was exciting, but then getting him, Brian being reappointed as a Boomers coach and being there on his side and being on that press conference was definitely surreal and something I couldn't be more proud of. Having him come on board and lead the Boomers, I think we'll do a great job, and we've got a great side, and there's no better guy to drive the Boomers to a medal this year.
Can you help me get Gorge on the podcast?
I can have a try. I can have a chat with him. If he knows your passion for the sport and what you've been doing, I'm sure he'll jump on and give you an interview without a doubt.
Thanks, man. The club's next star in Justinian Jessup, and obviously guys like Tyler Harvey are playing really consistent basketball at the moment. What's that like to have NBA caliber players come in day out at the club?
Oh, looks fantastic. Not only are they great players, they're actually fantastic human beings. Everyone on this team, has got a positive attitude. Everyone gets on well. Tyler and Justinian are both phenomenal players, but also great people. And look, it makes the job more rewarding when you've got good people around you. And I think this year, all our players are fantastic. We've had no issues with anyone, and everyone's loved being there, and everyone's loved working together. We've got a great team environment, and it's sort of it's good to be around the club.
I saw you caught up with the Warriors scout Michael Lee, who's seeing how Jessup's going at the moment and tracking his sort of progress. What was that like for you to meet him and get to know him?
Yeah, look, Michael's a great guy. I'm spending a lot of time with Michael. We've talked a lot with Kent Locob from the Warriors, and we've been having close dialogue with them. And the Warriors in general have been a great organisation. They're working closely with us and what we're doing at the Hawks with Justinian. So the whole experience with them has been very professional, and they've been very supportive of what we're doing with Justinian. And spending time with Michael now has been great for us. And Michael's sort of seen the caliber of the NBL and what it stands for. But look, it's definitely great. And for us, it's just collaborating with the Warriors and do whatever we can to help Justinian get to that next step and being Warrior come next season.
What's something that people don't know about you?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I think my life is pretty much in the media at the moment. Look, I'm just a hard worker. I've always been a very low-key person from a sense that I'm very open, I'm very hospitable. For me, it's all about respecting everybody and what I do and giving people time of day. And I've always responded to emails. I've always responded to people. But look, I'm just a simple, fun guy that's always going to be supportive and just sort of I would say I'm easygoing. Look, I think I'm pretty open when it comes to things like this. So I don't think I've got many secrets when it comes to my personality. I think I'll wear it on my shoulders, on my sleeves.
What are your strengths and weaknesses in business, do you think?
I think my weaknesses in the past was being impatient, and I think I've learned sometimes is to be patient. Look, I'm not great at many things, but I'm good at a lot of things. And for me, if you can be good at things and listen and work with a team, you go a long way. So, I'm always trying to learn. And I think the biggest issue that people are going to have is being ignorant in business. And for me, I've never been ignorant or stubborn. I've always been stubborn with my beliefs and ways, which has got me to where I am. But I'm always open to learn, and I've always had an open ear to listen from everybody, whether it's a receptionist or a warehouse person, or whoever it is. That you're always learning from people, and I've always been very open-minded to listen and learn from any walks of life, because you can always take positive out of anything that you hear or anyone that you communicate to. So to succeed for me, it's always been about listening and having an open mind, as well as having a belief and a strong stance in whichever way you want to go.
Now we've got sort of 5 quick questions now. So do you have an NBA team that you go for?
I did. It used to be the Lakers, but now I'm a bit more broad based on players than our teams. But the Lakers and the Bulls have always been my teams.
What footy team do you support at the moment?
I've always been an Eels supporter, followed by a Tiger supporter. So I'll always say Parramatta Eels first and foremost.
Who would you like to go to dinner with?
I'll probably say Michael Jordan.
Who's your idol?
I wouldn't say I've got one. A main idol. Jordan was definitely something that inspired me. But look, my dad probably, to a degree, brought me up on values and respect. That's where I was brought up, and that sort of instilled in me the values that I've got today, and it's kept me grounded. So I got to thank my dad for that.
Who's the most famous person you've met?
Oh, geez, the most famous person I've met a fair few, but you know what? No one really comes. Geez, I've met a few. I've met a few. I've met a lot of NBA players, but to me, the players that playing the game. So, I wouldn't. Yeah, I'll give that one a pass because I've met a lot of people, but no one that really sticks in mind saying, "Wow, that's."
Can you name a couple of those NBA players for us?
Well, obviously James Ennis is a good friend of mine. He's playing the NBA now, and I've met Boris Diaw. Spent a couple of days with Boris Diaw in Sydney. Also I've met Harden as well, and a lot of players, through the circles of my friends in the NBA. I went to the Lakers facility and saw LeBron there, and I was in the back change rooms with the Lakers when Houston were playing. So, but look, I've seen a lot of players and artists in my time, but yeah, for me that they're just people like myself, and just happen to have a bigger profile and maybe a bit more profile in the media than what we have. So,
if your life was a movie, who would you choose to play yourself?
Oh, mate, you're putting me on the spot, aren't you? I'll say George Clooney.
Yeah. Where do you keep your tomato sauce? In the fridge or in the cupboard?
I hate tomato sauce, so I don't have it.
Oh, no.
It's not my cup of tea.
Thanks, Dorry, for coming on the podcast.
Appreciate it,
just one last question. Have you got any advice for me to, get to where I want to go quicker and take the next step into getting to sports, TV, and media?
Mate, you're doing a great job as it is. How old are you now?
14.
Mate, keep doing what you're doing, and you've got the passion for it, and you've done some research on myself, and I'm sure it's all about research. But mate, keep doing what you're doing, and if you keep doing it, if you keep compounding what you've done now, mate, you're going to get there very quickly. So just keep following your passion and your dream, and keep on this course because you're doing a great job.
Thanks, Dorian. Thanks for coming on the podcast. It's been an absolute honour for you to put aside some of your time today and come on and have a chat.
Thanks, and I appreciate it, Max. Good luck with everything.
Thanks, Dorrys. Stay tuned, mate. Everyone, for some more Sporting Max.